The replay has arrived. Wrong one again? Is it? Is it now? Okay. So the question posed was, can I watch a replay of a better Terran to see what they do in the mid-game? Because I don't know what to do against Zerg in the mid-game. But from my perspective as a Zerg player against Terran, usually the most crucial period is what happens preceding the mid-game, and the person who is ahead in the mid-game has tons of advantages. And most players just whoopsie-daisy, make like 5 mistakes early on, and their mid-game is going to be way weaker than a Jin Greenwing's Rogue or TY or something like that. So let's look at this happy game and see what's going on. We've got Orbital Command. We've got a command center. So far, so good. We're right up there with the innovation right now. Top level stuff. Another gas. Making the supply depot. Okay. The use of this Reaper is pretty important. Third base going down. Pretty good time. Why is this happy buddy not shooting this happy buddy? Okay. This is the first real test, because many people don't continue to do stuff behind this, such as produce SCVs. So this is a diamond level game. We're focusing on the Reaper control, which is good, but one thing that we should do is press the 7 button, or whatever your 7th control group is bound to, and then press the SCV button 2 or 3 times. It's okay to queue up a worker in addition to the first worker. And then you can focus super hard on this guy over here. Because the Zerg is messed up with that too. This is what's happening. Both players are focusing on micro and they're just setting macro over to the side. So the way that you zoom from Diamond to Masters is you understand what should be cooking up behind the harassment during it. And then you make workers. And SlumGod SC2 said, before this was analyzed, I bet Neuro says to make more workers. And you think that it's a meme, but it's actually true. It is a meme, but it's true. And then now that the Reaper goes home, both players say, okay, now we're going to go back to the macro stage. It's kind of like a switch on, switch off. It's like, okay, now we're macroing. Everyone just be passive with the attacking units. And then we're going to focus on our build. This SCV should be snappy. What are you doing? What are you doing? There we go. Where's this energy going? 55, 56. Okay, mule. Okay. Let's get this going. The Zerg is at 42 out of 44. We're getting a second barracks. Stim, 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 stim. What is this for? Oh. We have a problem. We have 300 gas, 3 minutes 58 in. That's a ton of gas. That's enough gas for like a battle cruiser, isn't it? But we have a medevac going. So this is a 1 gas build that you're doing with 2 gases, which is part of what's putting you behind here. I thought that this was going to be like a barracks. You get the tech lab stim, and then you go 2 on 1, so this is a reactor, and then you're pumping out Marines. And then you swap these. You swap the factory with this. And then you make 2 medevacs at a time. That could spin the gas, because each medevac is 100 gas each. So if you made 2, that's 200 of your gas. And then if you took stim, that's another 100. Dude, Rob, what's up, my man? I hope you're doing well. What's up? Twitch.tv/RootRob. It's a reactor in disguise. This SCV? This poor SCV isn't doing anything. It's a really interesting aspect moving from Diamond to Masters, because in Diamond League, I think people understand the big picture ideas of you should have an attack, you should have a build, you should harass. But the precision is one of the things that's really different between like Diamond 2 and Masters 2. Is a 2-gas build would involve a 2-gas cost worth of units. The gas would be lower, and then that means that the total strength on the field would be more appropriate for the mining amount. The way that I think about it in StarCraft is you've got kinetic energy and potential energy. The kinetic energy is your active forces right here. So you have 800 minerals, 150 gas. Zerg has 700 minerals. Your potential energy is up here. 160 minerals, 403 gas. You're not going to punch out someone with potential energy. It just doesn't happen. This is more like your savings account. You've got to get this into your checking account, and then you've got to withdraw it from your account, and then you can make battle cruisers or whatever you want to make. But right now, this opening build it's not directed to do anything well. You can have a greedy opening, one where you're really trying to squeeze as much economy as you can and then hit a strong max out, maybe with some good upgrades. Or you can have a forward-leaning, like a direct attack opening. That would be where maybe you drop a fast armory and you attack with 6 Hellbats, 3 Marines, and a Medivac. That's an opening that has a clear game flow and progression. You could open with a fancy pants opening, like you go 4 Widow Mines, Medivac, and like drop it and try to do a mine drop while you expand behind it. But this opening is like right between everything. It's like almost a stim bio opening, but not quite. It's not quite 2-on-1. It's kind of like a Hellbat push, but there's no armory. So, yeah. And this is one of those things that it's not a loud mistake. Like when the game is happening, it doesn't yell at you and say, all your SCVs just died, or you just lost your whole army. But we fell behind innovation and TY, because our build doesn't really do too much. And the Zerg gets to drone. The Zerg isn't injecting though, so that's good for Terran. Larva is a resource. You should make larva. So I'm trying to see if we're going for a 3rd base or a 2 base all in. Because this looks like a 2 base all in. But I think he might intend to take a 3rd base. Okay, this Hellbat. Oh, is this the Hellbat stim thing? I think I know what this is. Education is very important, it's true. And this should be used constantly. You can make a Liberator. A single Liberator can kill an entire base of workers if you distract the Zerg. So one of the best moves that Terran can do is just have one Liberator here, and then send it in as you go for a Hellbat Medivac push over here. And then the Zerg is like, I gotta transfuse, and they're trying to like micro this really frantically, and there are a bunch of alerts going off, so it's really chaotic in the game. And then your Liberator is just shift rallied to shoot right here, and it'll kill the Queen and all the drones, basically. So we're going for a huge Hellbat attack now, but it's really late, so we're kind of hoping that they got neither Baneling nor Roach, but there are Banes coming now. Okay. What are we doing behind this? I know it's very fun to tunnel vision your units, but what is the plan B here? We've got double engineering bay, 3rd base, good. We could be hitting that command center button and then making 4 more workers. We have enough money to make 2 workers. Okay. So some of these units aren't lifted out. This could be pre-split a little bit better, but I think the fine-tuning of the micro is like the last thing that should be focused on. Mainly it's getting this next wave of production. Okay, good. Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, that's probably the best that you could hope for it in this scenario. because it hit really late. That was like about a minute and a half later than it should hit for that opening. You're struggling that much, you're just trying out anything. Terran is the most build order dependent race of the three. That's just how it is. They have the greatest potential for creativity because you can have all kinds of different combos. You have 4 different kinds of units that come out of this. You've got 6 units that come out of this. And you've got 6 units that come out of this. Wait, this is... Why is it organized that way? Anyways. These have 6 units and this has 4 units. So with these 3 structures, or these 4, you can do all kinds of different stuff. And being really strong in Terran versus Zerg is going to depend on you getting so good at your opening that you've practiced that opening more than the opponent has. Bruce Lee said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks one time. I fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times." So if you just do a random thing every game, it's always going to be sloppy. It's always going to be a mess. I think about a build in StarCraft like a piece of music, where the first time you get that piece of music, you have to look at every note and think about, okay, what's the next note that I have to play? Okay, this, okay. And you're kind of hanging on each step. Whereas after you've played it 100 times, you start to think more in the terms of the phrases, and you can focus on the phrases and getting that correct. And then once you've gotten that down pat and you're on your several next 100 practice whatevers, even if someone rings the doorbell or a cat like jumps across the room, you don't get distracted and mess up because it's so ingrained that you can even play it while you're being distracted. And StarCraft is kind of like you're trying to play a competitive violin piece against your opponent, but your opponent is trying to play a piece as well, but they're trying to hit you with their bow, like they're trying to thwack you and you're trying to play your thing perfectly. But if you've never practiced the piece of music, it's going to be bad even if they don't hit you. So you should have that level of precision. It's a very, very competitive community. Diamond players, to play StarCraft at Diamond League is a very competitive feat, and you should be proud of that. Masters is a whole different level. Master players are mean, and they're mad, and they're doing everything they can to defeat you. And if you want to beat them, you have to have a level of professionalism and refinement and polish that is better than theirs, but they're working hard. Look at this Overlord, for Pete's sake. It has been pooping here for the past 7 minutes. We got it. And these kind of units, too, are really good at working as small strike teams. This is another one of the advantages of Terran over the other races. I kind of feel like I'm trying to point out how Terran is good. 2 medivacs can go down, over, in, and drop. And then 2 medivacs could go up, over, down, and drop. Basically, you're striking on the wings. You could also try to hit something here, but that's kind of dangerous flying over creep. Basically, you want to avoid creep with your harassment units and then strike on the sides so the Zerg, they can't just F2 and fight you. Zerg, if they're in a direct fight with good formation and an A move, Zerg has the upper hand, especially on creep. The thing that Terran is really good at is mixing and matching their different sets of units and harassing while having a bunch of stuff going behind it. And these units are pretty cheap. So if you lost a Medivac of Marines, it's not the end of the game. You're going to be fine. It's more about how effectively you're moving from step to step. So we've got 1-1 going. This should be a super huge priority. 2-2 for Terran is a massive power spike. It's massive. It's like Texas. No, it's not that massive, but it's pretty massive. 2-2 should be like, you're like a 2-2 Terran, where as soon as you get 1-1, you just get 2-2. It's like automatic. It's like someone's at Subway and you're up there ordering your sandwich and they're like, so what kind of bread do you want? And you're like 2-2 upgrades and like, wait, what? Sorry, I'll have wheat bread, please. Like, it's that ingrained. This game is about speed. It's not just about knowing compositions, it's not about micro. It's about how accurately and how quickly you can do everything. So see, this shows me that you understand how marine mine works. That's fantastic. You set up the mines off creep, you bait the Zerg off creep, and then they get hit by the mines. But then there's a ton of stuff here. Why? It's like, oh my god, look what Zerg can do. We're just straight up behind. We're very behind. Way behind in supply. We had, this barracks didn't have a reactor on it for a long time. We're not using all of our production facilities. This should definitely be used. The 2-2 is late. We could be getting an upgrade on this. We should have these filled, and we should have a fourth base going right here through this. So Day 9 said in Heart of the Swarm in one of his dailies, attack and expand. Attack and expand. Watch this. You can always do this. This is one of the most classic macro player moves in all of StarCraft 1, StarCraft 2, and David Kim willing, if StarCraft 3 is a thing, you'll probably still attack and expand. So you might as well start practicing it now. So we spent the money into production, but we're supply blocked. But we could just take a command center. Look at this. We set up the mines. We scan, we stim. We hit the camera 3 button. So we jump to camera 3, grab this SCV, 4th command center, go right back to army. It's about a 1-second step, but the fight itself is going to last for maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds if it's a long fight and they chase you really far. And during those whole 20 and 30 seconds, you can have a command center that's part of the way done. And then you can fly that out and fall back to that, make it a planetary fortress. You're good to go. So with every attack in the game, I challenge you, and anyone who's watching, this isn't just directed at 6ix9ine the Terran. If you lost the game and you're all rustled of the Jimmy Jim Jims, I guarantee there are multiple places in the game like this where you tunnel vision on micro because micro is flashy and it's exciting and it's fun, and you totally neglect macro because you saw a clip of someone who was doing some amazing marine splits and you're like, now it's time to do amazing marine splits. Yes, it is, but you can take a command center as well. That's my opinion. You can also lift these up too, because they didn't have protection. And our main is mining out, which is a big part of why the 4th base absolutely must go down fast. 4 bases of macro is one of the most common convergence points in Legacy of the Void. So even if you're a player who's kind of aggressive leaning, you should be mentally prepared for a close game where you do have to take the 4th base. Even if you like to hit really hard at, say, 44 SCVs, and then you're making some workers through that, you should be ready to take a 4th. The basic power spike for Terran that the other races don't have is the Mule. The Mule is like a free super worker for Marines that can mine way faster. So what Terran wants to do is think about each Mule that you drop and how that creates a mineral power spike for you that you can leverage into some harass against the Zerg. Because this army is just way bigger. We're dead. We've been dead for about 3 minutes now. And I don't know if there's always the awareness of that. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell because you didn't have full scouting of everything the opponent was doing. But this is basically this is about 4 bases saturated. 85 drones with tons of gas coming in, so they're going to be able to make tier 3 units, Ultras, Broodlords, and things like that. We don't have Ghosts or Liberators or Thors or Vikings. Those are usually the big switches that you go for here. I think the least micro one is probably double Thor production. And that's pretty good. Double Thor is pretty good against Ultras, and it's pretty good against Broodlords. It's very good against Broodlords. So you can use something called pencil and paper as well to map out what your ideal progression is. Like if you could decide what your macro game was going to look like, what is your opening build? Are you opening with a direct punch? Are you opening with a fancy pants like battle cruiser harass and to teleport out? Are you going to be greedy and just try to make as much money as you can and try to learn how to defend all the cheese? And then what is your mid-game strategy? Are you trying to go for a big value 1-1 or a 2-2 timing push? Or are you trying to go for lots of multi-prong harass while you expand and tech up? Those things can be decided ahead of time, and then once you decide what you want your basic approach to the matchup to be, you could look for more precise ways of doing that. So learning how many factories, barracks, and starports I need to do biotank medevac. Let's say I want to do biotank medevac with some 2-2 timings. I want to be getting my second factory tech lab down fast so I can do double tank production. I want to get my fourth base down behind my 1-1 tank marine pressure here at this base or this base. You do 1-1 tank marine pressure with a fourth base and 2-2 behind. And then you do a double tank push to control the center and then to push in here. Double tank 2-2 marine medevac. And you're going to crush. And then you just practice every single step of avoid being supply blocked, try to spend the money, try to get some micro value out of your units. And now we get the sad tale of what happens as Terran when Zerg is just out of control, ahead in every conceivable way. And we're just praying to the micro gods right now. Byun, please Byun, I know I'm dead, but I don't want to be dead. I want to micro like you, Byun, and be able to win this game. So please help. But Ultraling Bane with 4 Overseers. We have no snipes, we have no liberators, we have no tanks. We have stim, and we have some mines. But the Zerg has 85 drones, which means they can throw away this army, and they can build a new army, and stampede across the map, and just consistently outproduce. And when a base mine's out, they can transfer to this base, and this base. Sad. GG though. Thank you for sharing that game. Did people find that informative? Was that fun? Was that fun? ZVT broken down. It is a hard matchup for both sides. It's always been that way. I think ZVT, consistently speaking, has been that really merit-based matchup. The faster player wins. The faster player over the course of the game is going to consistently win. I feel like there's a lot less bamboozling. Like maybe you did an off-meta build and you caught him off guard. The pieces fall in such a consistent way, and scouting is relatively easy for both sides, that usually it ends up being a mechanics war, where the player who has the better mechanics wins. Which can be humbling, because if you're against a better Terran, they're going to smash you every time. And that's happened to me. I played against Forte. He's a GSL player who sometimes almost makes it into Code S, but he's usually like Code A tier. They don't have Code A, but he's that tier. And I faced him on ladder 7 times. He went double Medivac Marine every single time and killed me every single time. Not always with the first Medivacs, but with the third Medivac and the fourth one, he would just kill me with Marines every time. Why? Because he was faster. I knew exactly what he was going to do, but I couldn't do anything because he was faster than me. It's like boxing. People don't talk about that enough when they're considering improvement and your responses to stuff, because sometimes people have a basically good idea. If you ask them in a conversation, what are you supposed to do in the matchup? They can list it for you. But to be able to add that speed and precision and that sense of urgency of you going as fast as you physically can.